bunch, and then Justice, you worked with Juliet Johnson and Hunter Reese, who is also not here, those two folks. But we just thought we would show those videos to let you know what our fourth graders are working on and kind of give them some spotlight because those kiddos are working pretty hard in the classroom. Mr. Jurio's got things squared away, I hope, because technology is her thing, not mine.
This is Justice, the survivalist. He builds shelter and tools.
This is Joy, the nutritionalist. She makes sure the food is safe.
This is Hunter. He is the journalist. He puts important things in his journal.
Build shelves like these to store things, such as food, weapons, tools, and other things in survival situations.
There's one that just jumped into the water. There's one right there. The frogs are those rocks.
If bad weather like a tornado comes your way, go to the safest place possible, like your shelter. Use a board like this to clean your fish on. This is surprisingly useful. Use a natural fish pond like this, or one that you have built, to store many fish in. It is very useful for survival situations. This will also be in your survival pack, including lures. Torch in the air and you see a plane, yell and scream or do anything for one to rescue you, and they should come. Plastic silverware will be included in your survival pack to eat your dehydrated food with. Pots and pans will be included with your dried food in your survival pack.
This is your survival book. If your parent has a heart attack, do whatever you can. Don't use them as hamburgers or any kind of food when you're hungry. Watch where you step.
Madison, Haley.
Well, first use a hatchet or an axe to cut down trees. Use a long, thick piece of grass or rope to tie it together. Put together like a triangle, double tie the top of the shelter. and we try hard to keep it going. Step 1. Cut some bark with a hatchet or axe. Step 2. Tie the bark to some string. Step 3. Make the spear any shape you want it to be.
Cut some bark with a hatchet or axe. Carve it to a half circle. You could put a carving on it too. You cut your tail shoelace. You tie it to both ends of the half circle.
Step 1. You first cut logs or tree trunks that float. Step 2. You need to tie them together like a rectangle shape. A survival kit has things you need like food, things to survive in the wild, and medicine to help you from dying.
Step 1. You open the food package. Step 2. You put water in the food package. Step 3. You heat it up. Step 1. Well, first you open the drink package. Step 2. You put water in the drink. Step 3. You mix well.
Appreciate you guys letting us come and show our videos. I also appreciate the iPads in the classroom. You know, like I said earlier, that was just our first trial run, if you will. There are some good things that are happening in that room, and these 6 kids sitting right here are a prime example of that, along with teacher and Mr. Jerry. So,
There were only 5 there earlier. What happened?
magic. Haley came in. Haley Estrada. She was the last video, so she got to see her video, and
Good.
Mom and Dad in the back got to see also. So,
That was awesome. I was thoroughly impressed.
And they did that all on their own.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was try some snapping turtle egg.
Yeah. Kind of made me hungry after the fish and the bird. That's right. Good job, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming tonight. You're welcome to stay around for this meeting, or you can leave.
You don't have to stay for the fun part here. Thank you for the fun part you brought to us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Stay away from snapping turtles, and it says snapping turtle eggs are good food. I'm like, I stay away from the snapping turtle. We have another presentation.
I think you can top the ones
Yeah,
that
I
are
know,
solid.
I know. If I would have known, I would have changed the date.
Yeah, that's a hard act.
Now,
Did you put your presentation in music?
no, I did not. Now I feel like I'm an underachiever.
And the presentation slide.
let's do a PowerPoint here.
Cute kids and props.
Well, this is a.
Yeah, they hit a whole testosterone. She turned that projector off.
Oh, she did?
I'm thinking she may have.
Lauren, do you know how to get the right email? Do what? How to get the right email? signal, what does that mean? This is the other part of technology.
We can get those kids back in.
I know, I'm gonna go get the kids. What am I doing? I don't know how to do this.
You say you just hit it.
Is it HDMI? Stuck. Don't know how to do it. Won't any principal know how to do it?
Come on, young people. Adam, get up there.
Don't know how to, do you know how to work the machine?
I don't know, machine. Oh, is it just a projector?
I never use this one. Well, hey, this is why you have backups, right? So we'll go off of the paper, so you can look at what I gave you, and we'll just talk as we go, and maybe she can try to get that going for us. Okay. Yay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna scooch in just a little bit. All right, so we're here as a counseling department, and we'd like to do a quick presentation for you. Sorry it took so long to get that started. First things first, I'd like to introduce everybody. At high school, we have Kaylin Pinnell, who's at her son's performance tonight, so she's in the black box right now, and Skylar Davis. Junior high is Cindy Grace, and she's not here tonight. Elementary and intermediate are Sisan Broyles and Lauren Parrish, and of course you know Sisan is retired but come back to work part-time for us. And I'm Karen Bader, and I'm at Pate, the little ones. The first thing we want to educate you about is the school counseling is a comprehensive program, and it's developmental by design, which means we start with young kids and we teach guidance concepts starting as early as kindergarten and all the way up through high school. We keep teaching those concepts. They build upon each other. We also look for support with parents or guardians, teachers, administrators, and community as well. We try to address the needs of all students by facilitating their academic, personal, social, and career development, and help create a positive and safe learning climate in school. So the school counseling program components really have 4 areas. The first one is the guidance curriculum, then individual planning, responsive services, and system support. So the first one is guidance curriculum, and Lauren, you can talk about that. Okay. Do you want me to? Okay.
So we work with teachers, and we go into the classroom and we teach a certain amount throughout the week. We do certain lessons, and then we work with the teachers to see direct needs that they need throughout the year that goes on. So academic development, that's where we're going to work to increase academic success. So we'll work on study and test taking skills, organizational skills, time management, transition between grades, and then academic goal setting. Career development, this is where we're going to look at their interests and strengths and then relate them to what career they find interesting. We are going to explore, there are 6 career paths, and then we are going to look at education and training that they would need for their jobs, and then personal and job seeking skills so that they can have job success as they get older. And then personal and social, those are going to be things like self-concept, positive relationships, respect for themselves and others, responsibility, personal safety and healthy choices, coping skills, and then being a contributing member to their community.
I was watching the kids up here with the presentations they had made. I kept thinking of what careers would tie into all of that. It was pretty exciting to watch the little kids do it, especially after you have them when they're kindergarten. It's pretty neat to watch them grow and develop. Next part is individual planning.
Within our individual planning, we work closely with our parents. The school counselors will provide the effective educational and career planning services that help all students beginning in middle school to develop personal plans of study. Within the personal plans of study, we're going to be looking at what does the student need now in order to get to whatever their future goal is, whether that's going to be a technical college, a 4-year college, or a military branch of the military, or are they going to go straight into the workforce? What do they need to take now that's going to help them best in their future, and what can we do to prepare them? We work with a website called Missouri Options, and we'll get on there and go into classrooms starting basically around sophomore years, where we kind of pick that up in the high school. I know it's done at the junior high as well. And it's an interactive website where the students can get in and take different inventories and assessments and try and figure out where they want to be so many years down the line. And so that's what, with our individual planning, we really work with them on developing that and creating a future plan for wherever they want to be.
Next area is responsive services. School counselors assist students who have unique needs, including those who may be experiencing barriers to academic success, through individual counseling. That's one-on-one. For example, a child who might have parents going through divorce. Small group counseling, then if you have a group of kids, several students with the same issues, like again, family divorce, you can group those kids together and have them work through their issues with each other. Consultation and collaboration, that's with staff, with administration, with outside agencies such as the Clark Mental Health Center, Division of Family Services, seeing what we can do to help these families or children, either at home or and at school. And school and community referrals, again, referring them out to different agencies out in the community. Or even to get resources, like through OCAC, they can get food assistance or money assistance for different things that they might need. The next area is system support.
The first area is fair share duties, and we want to be a part of the team. We support everybody, so if we're needed for our car duty, whatever, we just kind of fill in, walk down the hall, they grab us sometimes. It happens. The next one is program management, and this is a big one where, like in high school, they have appointments for junior high too, scheduling appointments for schedules and things like that. The school intervention team process is pretty big, where we're connecting teachers, parents with possible evaluations, interventions, things like that. There's a lot of coordinating with that. MAP test scores when those come in. Just the testing process in the spring is huge. There's other programs that we've developed over the years, like the doggy bag program, Watchdogs. We've got the lunch bunch program in the intermediate and so forth. We set up and coordinate meetings for in-house service, for like special education evaluation meetings and things like that too. And the last one is consultation, and it's kind of ditto what Karen said. We work a lot with case managers from like DFS. They'll come and check on the kids and make sure things are going well with those referrals. Of course, parents and guardians, teachers, we work with them all the time, trying to help see what emotional needs or maybe academic needs we can help with, interventions for kids. A lot of times we work with other professionals, other therapists, other agencies, Clark Center, like you said before, even doctors and, just making connections for people. We just kind of are the glue that kind of tries to help everybody. So I think that's about it.
I think it's important to note too that we all, through all levels, my little bitty kids all the way up to the high schoolers, we all do all of these things. We're presenting each little section individually, but all of us are in charge of all of these type of responsibilities. So on your handout there, if you want to know more about the program, there's 3 really great resources: mcce.org, American School Counselor Association, and then our state organization, the Missouri School Counselor Association, too. One of our goals is to be a fully implemented program. Fully implemented means that you do everything as much as possible that Missouri Comprehensive Guidance Program teaches. And the way you do that is through program assessment. So we've been busy this year working with a time task analysis. Each of us selects so many days per week, and then we write down every single thing we do, and we divide it into one of those 4 categories that we just showed you. And then that gives us a pie chart, and then we compare that pie chart to what the state says are reasonable amounts of time or designated amounts of time for each of those areas. So it helps us look at if we're spending too much time doing one thing, we need to back off on that and spend more time doing like individual counseling or something, for example. We also do an internal improvement review we call the IIR, and it is lengthy. Most districts just do one for the whole district. We're kind of overachievers. We do one for each building because we all work differently. We do one for each building, and then we do one district-wide. We also are very lucky to be able to collaborate with each other once a month, like the teachers collaborate with each other. That's a big help, and we are in the minority in the state. A lot of counselors don't get to do that, so we're real grateful to our administrators for letting us do that. And then also, this year we will do a needs survey for the staff, the parents, and the students. And we have an electronic one that we use. We get better results that way. We only do a needs survey every 3 years, so this is our 3rd year. So through that IIR, I forgot I put the little things here. And through the IIR, we've already targeted some things that we want to improve. Electronic referrals, and we already have that. The high school counselors have worked really hard to make sure that kids can refer themselves through an email, or teachers can refer their students if they need to talk about something. You want to add to that?
Or parents. I mean, we have it set up, myself and Ms. Cannell, where if a student fills out that form and tries to contact us, it'll go to our email immediately, so then we can pull it up and see the student, and whether it's my student or hers, we make sure we get to that student that day, because we also have them fill out whether it's schedule change or is this, emergency, I need to speak with you now. So we make sure we get to those students, and there's also a parent one as well, so the parent can contact us that way as well.
Our big push this year is to have a college and career day in Aurora. Right now our students travel to Monette, and I'm not liking that so much. And I think we all kind of are in agreement. So we're going to do it this year. So you can be looking forward to that. And to help with that, getting kids focused early on going to college or career, having a career once they get out of high school, we're going to have a week-long college week, starting from the elementary all the way up through high school. So we are coming up with some plans for that, but we don't want to do it by ourselves. Hang on a second. We want to use our advisory board. Our advisory board is parents, some staff, and people in the community we've invited to come learn about the guidance program, make suggestions, and tell them what they think we need to do. And then our other goal is to have more PR with the community, businesses, and the board. We've done a board presentation before, but I know there's a lot of you that are new, so we wanted to come back and kind of refresh a little bit. With the community, we work a lot. I know I work a lot with family services, so we're very grateful with our relationship. We work really well in Lawrence County and Berry County. That doesn't always happen. So through doing all of that, we were recognized by the Missouri School Counselor Association for the Norm Geisbers Award. And Norm, this is a big deal in Missouri, in the counseling world. Norm Geisbers is the man who developed the comprehensive guidance program that we follow, that I was trained in 1982. So it's been around for a while. He's retiring from MU, and we were selected along with, I think, 10 other schools for having an outstanding implementation. We don't want just outstanding implementation. We want fully implemented.
Can I add one thing to that? When
Yep.
we were at that award, I didn't realize until I got there through this presentation that there were people from all over the country. This is a national thing, actually international. They even had people from Korea that use the materials that he's developed right here in the state at MU. So it's a big feather for our school and our state to be recognized with Norm Geisler.
So, having said that, our goals and our vision for a full implementation is to add a full-time 5th and 6th grade counselor. Of course, right now, Mrs. Parrish is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade counselor. She's handling all of those lessons. And we get into the classroom 30 minutes, 30 minutes once a week, as do I. So she has a lot of classrooms that she targets. We also like to see a part-time counselor for the alternative school, and I'm sorry, your page is wrong. I typed it wrong and then corrected it on my PowerPoint. Part-time counselor for the alternative school and a part-time counselor for PATE. That could be one person working part-time at both, or 2 part-time counselors. So that's kind of our goal. And any questions that you might have?
Any questions for our counselors? Dave, you look like you got one. You good?
Well, thank you. We appreciate your support, and we are known, Aurora is really known throughout all the people I'm connected with that we have a good thing going on here, so we should all feel proud about that.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you guys coming and putting that on. Congratulations on that award.
Thank you, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. It's just a good
Part somebody's plugged in.
Oh, is he? Private electrician behind us. Next, we have public comment. Miss Sharon Martin. Miss Martin, can I call you Sharon? I'm teasing. Welcome, thanks for coming.
Thank you. I don't have a PowerPoint tonight, sorry.
Oh, I started saying these guys have to move again.
No, you don't get on the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Want to pass?
Yes, yeah, there's just one. I think this is about the time that you talk about the school calendar for next year.
We started.
We started.
Getting close. Next month it'll be in full swing.
And actually, I talked last year, this same month. A lot of you were here, not all of you. Anyhow, I am here and I speak for a lot of families, a lot of parents of kids in the school district. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And based on some things that I've talked to families, this is a proposed calendar that I guess you could say it's from the families and some of the students. And so it's the same number of days in this year's calendar. It obviously starts later, and It actually ends on the same day as this year's calendar does. But it kind of condenses the school year a little bit more into 9 months instead of spreading it out more into 10 months. And so I think that we were about the only school district that I knew of this year that did not go to school during the week of Thanksgiving. And it still has, I think, 3 and 4 day breaks in the spring. And it gets closer to what the legislature passed several years ago about starting, I believe it's 10 days prior to Labor Day weekend, or to Labor Day. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, I just got the calendar out, talked to a lot of people, and kind of what some people would like to see in the calendar in the future.
Well, I know we don't have anything yet as far as to compare it to, but have you got, are you still studying? Have you got anything yet?
I put a rough calendar together just based off of reciprocal of this year, not completely reciprocal. Reciprocal starting date would be actually August 11th, which I think is too early, and it's been moved back a week. I actually meet with, I'll meet with a calendar committee that's comprised of people from AEA this Friday, talk with administrators, get thoughts, and then usually the way that process works is we take the suggestions that we get, like this, from staff, and then we'll present a few options to get feedback from the entire staff, and then bring a recommendation to the board next month. Next month, obviously, because of the statute that Cheryl's referring to, we have to have a public open time frame that is advertised to where if we are to start more than 10 days prior to Labor Day, that we have that opportunity for people to voice their opinion on the calendar itself, the starting date, and then the board would have an opportunity to approve at that point in time. So,
Okay.
are you proposing all full days, or do you have any half days in there?
That's a good question. Well, whenever we can get back to it, I and a lot of people would like to see us go back to full days on Fridays. Now, that's just my personal opinion, and I know the opinion of a lot of people I've talked to. I think I understand that we're not there yet, but
Well, it's one of those things where with this calendar, you'd have to throw in some full day teacher days off for teachers to do that improvement if you took the half days away. So those two things I don't think would have to be able to work in conjunction and keep the same calendar you have here if you take away the half days. They have to have a certain amount of
Collaboration.
It's professional development time.
Right.
And is that
Built
per
into the
semester, or is that during the year?
Yeah, there's a minimum amount, 30 hours per teacher, that DESU requires on a minimum amount. So as it is right now, we probably have 80 to 90 hours probably built in the calendar with all of the Fridays. Yeah. So some would either have to stay or not stay or have some whole days built in. There used to be whole days.
I've actually had 2 parents in the last month approach me regarding a 4-day week. Is that, from your discussions, is that something that people would be interested in?
I have not heard that from anybody that I've discussed anything with.
I've had a few people kind of sit in the opposite, five full days.
Right.
For extended days, I've had a few people talk about that actually more matches what the normal parents' work day is. Not everybody's, but when parents work, a lot of times it's 8 to 5, 9 to 5, and extended a school day that's more in that time frame. Get rid of the latchkey kids. They go home to people there. And
I think one thing I pointed out last year was the Scott Tech kids that, you know, if they're missing out, well, I guess they have a choice to go on Friday afternoons or not. But that is, my understanding, has been hampering some of the development, you know, them from Scott Tech. But
Where'd you make up your days?
where did I make up my days?
Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Right,
There's only a week of Christmas instead of 2.
Well, I think there's actually 12 days of
We should write a song about it.
Actually, 8 days. You get out on the last day is the 22nd. You start back on the third. Oh, third. I'm sorry. That would be it.
So actually, yeah, just I think 13-day break at Christmas instead of like an 18-day break at Christmas.
I'd be interested in the feedback that you might get if you have that 4-day discussion with some people.
Okay, you know me, I discuss a lot of things with a lot.
And we've heard I mean, I went to a session on that at Tantera, and there are a lot of educational values to the extended day, shorter, you know, fewer days a week, that made a lot of sense. You know, the big one that everybody was talking about was, what do you do with them that whole day? Well, what are we doing them right now for the half a day? You know, it's and they thought they were going to have school-sponsored daycare, and they found out that there was plenty of daycare that just, you know, stepped up. That need was filled. There were grandparents more than happy that didn't see their kids enough. A lot of different avenues that took care of that. It's a thought.
Any other questions? And I appreciate everything you all do, and I appreciate everything the teachers and the staff do.
Can I, why the full day on Friday? I mean, why do you feel like the kids are, is it just the Scott Tech afternoon, or is it?
Well, this is what I'm understanding from my 2 kids. Lots of times they can't take a test on Friday because if there's more than one class of, say, Algebra 1, the teacher won't give the test on Friday because they're not giving it to all their students. So
over the weekend they could collaborate.
Yeah.
So those students, I don't know, in my opinion, as a parent, we're behind one full day then of them learning. I mean, you know, if all the students in that Algebra 1 class were able to take the test, then on Monday, the teacher could go on to something else. And so that's one thing I've been hearing from my kids. One of my children kind of likes that Friday because it just seems to be more of a down day and not as big of a learning day as day 1 through 4. I don't know, as a taxpayer, I want to get every bang for my buck that I can out of these kids.
Well,
so that's where I guess another thing that where I'm coming from.
Right, and the reason, I mean, we like a half day because we get daily attendance. I mean, that's considered a full day, so we get reimbursed. We like the half day for the teacher in service because we were, for years, have tried to realign everything so everybody is collaborating together on the curriculum. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, vertically from K through 12. I mean, we're not able to do that with school in session. So they're working their tails off.
And I still don't know that we get enough collaboration, but I also think the collaboration doesn't count as professional development either. Am I right about that? Professional development is professional development. Collaboration is collaboration.
Right. I think you're right.
So the reason why we have like 80 hours is not to fulfill the 30 hours of professional development, but a lot of that time is supposed to be allowed teachers to align vertically and horizontally and all that.
Do you understand kind of what we're trying to get everybody on board, so you don't have
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, somebody
anywhere.
jump in
Please.
here. Instead of having a spectacular teacher teaching history, and then the other 2 teachers teaching history, or okay. We want this really, really good teacher to help these teachers implement what she's teaching, where she's so successful, or he.
And I think
Would that make sense?
And I think where the balance has to come in is that, and we had this discussion just today in our admin meeting, is that if you have good professional development and collaboration on Friday afternoon, but yet your school day is sacrificed because of these concerns that she's bringing up, then you have an issue. If you have a good school day, but yet you don't have solid collaboration and professional development, then it's not a good use of time. And so you have to have that balance to where even though kids are in school for 4.5 hours, it's 4.5 hours of quality education so that we can have 2.5 hours of quality professional development and collaboration. And if one of those is being sacrificed because of the other, then it's not a good solution. And so that's the issue that has to be looked at and addressed if Fridays are a problem. So.
I probably just confused you, and confused myself, but it was approached to us that this is time for the teachers to work together, to collaborate on how they're teaching, what they're teaching, everybody get on board. Ultimately, kids are going to be learning more because they're teaching the same way, the same thing, and teaching it better. And that's what the Friday afternoon, I'm just trying to explain to you what Friday afternoons in the school district are used for.
I was understanding at one point that because of test scores, that some of this teacher, whatever you call it, I'm sorry, professional was mandatory because of the.
Professional development is mandatory, but it's not based on our scores as opposed to others. Is that what you're saying, that maybe we were required to have a remediation?
Right.
Professional development as remediation?
This is before I was on the board.
Really?
That's what the community was out there.
That's what teachers had told me.
Yeah, that our school went to half days so that our teachers could become better teachers.
Well, we're always
because our test scores were really bad, and that's why we did it.
Nothing was ever, there was no mandate by the state. Billy, you were.
At one point with schools that were priority schools, they were looking at ways to increase collaboration, but I don't know that Aurora was ever designated a priority school as far as instructional needs. But I know that may have been the next step with scores, but I think also that was at the time around maybe when they implemented the Reading First grant. How long ago was that? You remember?
Yeah, that would be about.
And we're just starting the professional learning, the PLC process.
So I really can't speak to that as far as specifically, but I know that, and we discussed it today, I know that when we went to the consistent everyday Friday, it was because of the input we got back from parents that said we would prefer, if you're going to do the half-day professional development / collaboration / data analysis, we would prefer you do it every Friday so we don't have to continue to guess which Fridays you're off and which Fridays you're not. That was my understanding.
Yeah, we had someone come to us, and because you had the AB type thing, or red and white, and they're trying to get the schedules worked out. It's like they couldn't figure it out.
But I can't speak specifically to the
because they tried not to make them miss the same classes every week. So they were flip-flopping on Fridays or something, and it was very difficult for the students to realize which Friday is this? Is this the Friday I'm doing this schedule? Okay, no, this is the Friday I'm doing that schedule.
Well, there was one time we had one day off on Friday a month, and then a half-day Friday off a month, and we went 2 full Fridays a month. And that's when parents said, we want it to be the same. We can't keep track of if we come all day, we come half-day, we're off all day. And that's when the community said, make it the same, whatever you do. Because every Friday was different.
One point that I would add, 80 hours is a lot of collaboration. If that was me at work, I would say, how am I supposed to get it out all these meetings? That's something that I've heard.
Absolutely. I've heard that not only about teachers, but about administrators. I've heard the same thing. They're always in meetings.
Yeah.
I mean,
we meet once a month.
Well, I mean, ultimately, we want to try to provide the best education we can, you know.
It's always the time that somebody comes to the office asking for you, though.
That's
That's why it's always in my
school
office,
meetings.
it's always.
That's not all the meetings I have, trust me.
I didn't mean for this to be a half-day Friday
Yeah.
discussion.
I know, I was,
But
I
mean,
mean, I kind of.
That's a big part of our schedule, though. I mean, that's an integral part that needs to be talked about. I mean, you understand, there's long breaks for the holidays, longer than anybody I know of. And everybody else was going back to school or were still in school. So,
If we could extend our school day by a half hour a day, then would we even need Fridays? Then we could go to a 4 day.
it has to be about an hour, I think,
Yeah.
a day, from what the seminar I saw from the school up North Missouri.
To do this schedule that you've proposed here, is that in half days? If it's based on, or is that full days?
It's based on full day.
well,
It's 170
well,
days.
It wouldn't matter.
Right, exactly,
Wouldn't
right,
matter.
right.
As long as they go by till noon.
We go 174 days now. If it's 174 days with Friday or
Technically, all
Saturday,
we're doing is
still,
short, I mean, with
still
this,
accommodate the required number of hours that DESI requires.
shortening Christmas,
Let's-
shortening.
Later start.
It's just later start, same time out, it's just condensing it together to where your breaks are in the middle or less, and that allows you to start later and end earlier.
Is it days of instruction or hours? I mean, are we required 174 days?
No. You're required 1,044 hours. Now, there's again legislation out again that will come out this year that they're wanting to go away from that to where it just gives the flexibility of districts to make local decisions on that. But we went to a 170-day school year last 2 years in Crane. The only difference is if you have 174 days, and to count a full day, you have to go 4 hours. So for example, if we had a weather day that we had to dismiss early, here we could be out by 11 o'clock and count it as a full day. If you're less than 174 days, you have to go 4 hours, so we would have to go till noon.
Right.
That's really the only difference, as long as you meet that 1,044. If you go a 4 day week, you're 140 days. But yet you still accommodate the same amount of instructional time.
In Nixa, they go an extraordinary amount longer than what the minimum requirements are. It's like 10 days longer than what the state minimum requirement is. And they do it on purpose. I mean, they say, we're not that kind of school that that believes in doing the minimums. I don't know what the community and teachers think about that.
Good information to think about. Thank you, Sherry, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry if we got off track, but it kind of all ties in.
I understand.
It's just, that'll be interesting to see when
Well,
he gets off his pile. how
I'm
they
sure
go.
part of the reason she bringing this is, I mean, I've always wanted it to be this way because like, for my son playing baseball, her daughters play softball. When you play all summer long and you end, the World Series are always the last weekend of July. Well, we start school on August the 14th, so you have 2 weeks to try to plan a vacation, and sometimes it's hard to do that. I mean, and I mean that's why I always wanted it to be, but and I don't know if that's part of the reason, but
That's part of
it just
it.
seems like we start awful early and we get out awful late. I mean,
So
compared to how school I thought school used to be.
Well, two quick, very quick points. Yes, my youngest daughter is now swimming with them at Water Thrashers. The A championship is always the first weekend in August, and which could be anywhere from the 2nd or the 3rd down to the 5th or 6th. So, when you start school on the 13th, yes, that's right, correct. That is that
Part of
doesn't
the
allow
pool-
that,
The pool, if we start school so early, the pool can't stay open for 3 weeks just to stay open through Labor Day. I mean, so you got the whole Labor Day weekend. It was one of the hottest, weekends of the year, but our city pool isn't open because when we start school, 15 days into the month, and there's no kids.
The
Mine's
second-
open.
Yours open?
Mine's open, so.
Don't send them your way.
Yeah.
You don't want the entire community there.
The second quick thing is this year the Missouri State Fair started on August 13th. the very first day that we started school. So these kids that work on these 4-H projects all year long, which I know may not be very many, but mine is one of them, cannot go. Well, she would either have to pick to go to the state fair or go to school. And so we thought it best to go to school this year. But we have we have an excellent ag program here. And our kids can't even participate in the state fair.
Is that the same time that they've always had it, or have they changed that? Because I know I always took a project when I was in school, the state fair, welding project.
I can't say for sure.
Didn't seem like it used to start that late in the, it seemed like it was earlier in the summer, but.
Well, they always have it like the week after the Ozark Empire Fair, which is generally the last week of July.
Yeah, I was thinking it was always the first week of August.
So,
it started.
I don't have all my background on that, but I do know the day that they started this year was August 13th. So, anyway, that's just a couple things.
Thank you.
Thanks, Billy. Billy, were you here before we went to Half Day Fridays? I was just, question is if you have a teacher, is it more able to catch a teacher going down the wrong road by having a meeting every Friday than you would one Friday out of a month? That was my question. If you can catch that faster and get it turned around.
Well, the way that we've got our observations set up now through that NEE, which we use for our evaluation tool, we're doing more shorter observations within the classroom, which then allows you to see them more often, which then allows you to work with them. The Fridays, from my perspective, and what I'd hope that the principals do, and what we talked about, and what they schedule to plan is that combination of work with professional development. If they have weaknesses and they can pull teachers that are together, they can work with them to do something like that. But also that collaboration, and then also data analysis. That's what you're looking at. When you talk about collaboration, you're looking at talking about my kids are doing this in my class, and I'm a third grade teacher, and they're not quite performing as well in my class. What are you doing different than what I'm doing? So when you talk about a teacher that's not doing as well with instruction, my first instinct would be, who's the strongest teacher in that grade level, and how can I get them paired up? Well, you're going to have a little time during the week to do that, where you might have some shared time, but that Friday is also a good time to have those two teachers sit and discuss, or they talk about, my kids just didn't learn this concept very well, and yours blew it out of the park. What kind of things did you do with them? Also with the new math, that was one of the things that I think the Fridays, the new math program that we put in place, anytime you're looking at new materials, there's always going to be that learning curve to implementation as you go through something you've not been used to. So, that's a great time for questions and say, I'm having difficulty with my kids with this concept, the way it's taught in the new math program or materials. How are your kids handling it, and how can I do better in my classroom? So, if you ask the question about is it easier to catch, it does provide more time to have those discussions. But at the same time, when the principals look and evaluate their teachers, they're probably going to be in those classrooms more anyway to see what the weaknesses are. So, yes and no. It gives you more time to try to remediate, but they should already be catching some of those issues because of the extended number of observation opportunities. So, I don't know if that answers your question specifically, but that's...
In a way, though, it still goes back to what you're saying, though. If you don't put them with a stronger teacher, you're not going to get that until that once a month where you would get it every Friday, even though a principal would catch it.
Well, you're going to ask them to stay after school and do some things, which they would probably do so, but it doesn't give that consistent time every week to necessarily know that there's time that you could build into that schedule. But I know teachers are good to do that because they want to help their colleagues, because they want them to be the strongest they can be, and they also benefit. Anytime you sit around and talk about instruction or you collaborate on kids, even if you're a master teacher, you're gonna pick up something from somebody else that is a tip or a trick or a strategy or a way to do something that you can either take straight up from what they've done, or you can take it and manipulate it into something with your own experience to make it better. I mean, everybody does that, no matter what your job is. So, I don't know that answers the question, but that's just my opinion. You ask the principals that are sitting out there, they may have a different take on that.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your- Whole business, bond projects.
Okay, last month, we actually had window bids to give you, and the day of the board meeting, Dan had said another company contacted him, so we put that off. We actually, because those bids were made public, we rejected those bids and then had them rebid again. So I'll get to the window part in a second. The first piece in the bond projects was the intercom system at Robinson. Ben got 3 bids in. One of the things I do need to point out is in the recommendation that's there, on the recommendation sheet that you see from me, it is correct. He inadvertently put that his recommendation was number 3, but it's actually number 1, the ProTel system. In his summary of that, he feels like this system, even though it's not the cheapest, it's definitely by far not the most expensive, but it meets the needs of the building, and there were some software issues that he was concerned about just through the demo, and so his recommendation to me was that the board approve the bid from ProTel for $3,399.55 to take care of the intercom needs that we're having at Robinson. Then the other bid was the repairing those windows that didn't get taken care of the first time, and Dan told me that there was actually 2 other companies that showed interest, but in the end, those 2 other companies never submitted bids, and so we're here a month later with the same 2 bids that you had last year in front of you. So based on the fact that there wasn't a difference between any of the specs, my recommendation would be to use Republic Glass at a price of $5,400. So, and if the board approves these 2 bids, that will, with the exception of the money that's already been set aside for the replacement of the laptops at the high school, that will pretty much take care of the remaining bond money. So, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm kidding you.
Well, I meant out of money, but I didn't mean the road.
The bond money will have been
Dispersed.
yes, and earmarked with what's left.
Right, okay. All right. So you got ProTel Systems, $33.99. Republic Glass, $5,400.
I'll make a motion, we approve bids from ProTel Systems and Republic Glass.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, new business, easement of school property for phase 2 of walking trails. Ms. Pettit is here.
Thank you for letting me on your agenda, and I said 10 minutes or less, I'm gonna start my timer, so I won't take it too long. I'm just gonna give you a very brief history on this. We did a survey in 2009 with the property taxes to find out what the city of Aurora residents wanted us to do with our park tax. And the number 1 thing they had was doing a trail system, which surprised me, but that's what we did.
So what we did is that we applied for a grant through the federal grant. It's an 80% they give us, and it's 20% match. And we applied for a grant, and we got it, and we implemented the first phase, which you see in White Park. And that whole project was around $300,000 that we did. The grants are available every 2 years, and so we thought, let's try our luck again. So last year I met with, actually backing up just a little bit, when we applied for the first grant, we were really thankful to have a wonderful letter from Dan Decker in support of the trail system. So I thought that was a really good thing. And then last year we were able to apply for the grant. The deadline was in December, so we met with Dr. Fisher and the engineering city manager and developed a plan of where they wanted it to go and all that. And we were lucky again in January, notified that we got the second phase of the grant. And then again, they'll give us $250,000 towards this project, which, you know, we were expecting our match is $50,000. But we're going to go way over it because of, with the underpass, that bridge that goes underneath Carnation, that just to fix the underpass was going to cost around $40,000. It was a temporary fix. So we voted as a board to cut out the whole underpass, complete replacement, and it's close to between $90,000 and $100,000 to do that, because we didn't want to spend $40,000 and know we're going to have to replace in the future. So we're already over our price tag, but just you do have in your board packet, and if you don't want to look at it on yours, I have this. But this is the trail. The red right now is basically the existing trail in White Park. And then where Catherine Hillhorse has generously donated some of her land that runs along west of that drainage ditch, I guess you'd call it, goes under the underpass, and then she donated more land on the west side of Carnation to go up to that road. What's the name of the road that goes in there?
Carnation.
No,
West
College.
College.
Is it College? That goes into Pate?
College.
Okay. Anyway, she donated enough land that runs north and south that matches up into College Street. And then why I'm here with you is, and just to show you too about it was in your packet too, one side of the underpass will be deep enough for water drainage, and the other side, will be more for pedestrian traffic. So of course, when we have massive flooding, they're going to have a gate to close that off. So, but anyway, why I'm here to talk with you is continuing west on College Street as it meets the school property. When we had met with Dr. Fisher and the engineers, in your packet there is a red marking of where they had projected the trail to go. And let's see, when I've been working with Algar Martin, who is our engineer, and we're basically at the final of our documents of everything, and he said it was ready now to take the documents to the school board to get your assignment of your easement. And so I met with Dr. Shaw and Michael Singer to get an idea of if this is going to be work or not. And it was suggestion, I think, of Michael to shorten where the red is where the initial, basically, easement on the school property. And that was basically going to, I hate to use the word dump, but that was going to dump or let the kids out almost in the middle of that parking lot. But anyway, and so I believe Michael suggested cutting it back a few feet and then match up with, there's a green space that should be in blue on your handout. And so the engineers, they've done that to cut that trail short to match up. And so in the concrete or the pavement there, there'll be marked a crosswalk. And in the future, we'll be able to do with phase 3, because we'll be applying for a grant in 2016. In phase 3, we can extend the trail to take out that the dirt space, and it's 135 feet, and it's 10 feet wide. To extend the trail further down into that where it matches up with existing curbing going into the school. So I know Michael had asked if we could have that included with this grant right now, but it's really too late to make that kind of adjustment. And I've got the email from MoDOT who's overseeing the project, that it's too late to make, adding that extra 135 feet concrete. But they did make the adjustment of shortening the trail to match up to that green space. One possibility is, if you go ahead and grant this easement as it's written now, is, go ahead and including it in phase 3, because phase 3 we're hoping to go all the way to Robinson and then connect the junior high as well. So we could probably extend that if you wanted to extend that. Or, prevailing wage is really expensive and everything. It might be less expensive if we just have a separate entity donate the money to have that done. So, anyway, those are just some thoughts. Yes?
You knew you were going to get it right.
Uh-huh.
The whole thing is we shortened the initial lane.
Right.
So therefore that cost could be implemented on this.
Well,
It was at least, that's gotta be, and I don't have I think that's 100-foot station mark there, is it not?
I think you estimated about 75 feet shorter,
Okay.
but it's really not.
So you're
the
taking
length.
that money out of there for that cost of that.
Okay, it's not a money issue, it's going through the ropes of, they have to do a new survey, including that green space that you're wanting to put the sidewalk. I mean, I've got the email that I've gotten from MoDOT that said that would delay the project in order to do that. And if we go ahead with the easement as you requested it to that point, then they're intending to get this, I have to have all my documents in by the morning, and they're intending to put it out for bid the 15th of December. We're targeting having the trail open by the time school's out.
You're talking about a flat amount of money anyway, $250,000. Is that right? This is what the grant is that we're going to receive from them, and then.
That's what we're getting from federal, yes, is $250,000.
So we're going to get that no matter whether we shorten it, lengthen it, it's how much we have to add to it.
No, we don't have to add anything to it. It's not us to do it.
I think you
By
need.
us, I'm talking about community, but.
Yeah, but you're
federal government's paying for
gonna
all of
let the kids just land in the road? I mean, that's that whole established, that's why I was for, I mean, you have kids that leave there, come and go.
Mm-hmm.
You're just walking them right out into that road. Where if you have a crosswalk, you bring them across that green space, you bring them to the sidewalk that runs straight west to Page. That was my whole.
I'm just telling you, on their
No, I'm
side,
just telling you
their side
why
don't matter,
the
the money
kids
side
and
don't matter
everything.
to them, because they're giving us a flat amount. So whether we take off or add, they don't care.
Well, I'm not adding this, it'd be part of the scope of the project.
If we weren't down to the final of putting this in, I could see, if we had another couple months or something, to be able to have that resurveyed and have that done. But there are other options too of, I can't speak for other entities, but I do believe there's some other entities out there that could put that sidewalk in.
Well, and I'm not trying to be rude, but that was the whole thing is, when you come to us, I remember we had a meeting 4 weeks ago. That's pretty much what we felt like it was the way to go.
Right.
And if they needed more time, Algar should have had this ready prior to that, so that we could have got this. And like I said, I'm not trying to stop the project.
Okay.
I just, to me, it's, if you're gonna have this going to the kids, especially at Pate, you got small kids.
Okay.
And you're just, I don't know, that's just my feeling. And I'm just one of everybody that I just look at that side of it.
I don't remember if we met the Thursday or Friday before this email I got, but I got the email back on that Monday, November 16th, that it says to add this portion of trail to the project would require additional topography survey and another environmental review by MoDOT, in addition to changing the plans and easement documents. And he said, as discussed, there's just not enough time in our schedule to accomplish this. But I'm saying that, a win-win might be if we go ahead and get it to that one point. And you know what, reality of construction, the way the last one went, they had a certain period of time to get it done, and they started like 30 days, it seems like, before it was due. So we may be able to get that sidewalk, that portion in, even before they even break ground on that other trail.
Algar wouldn't have to do any topo on this because your curve establishes your grade.
That's why $10, or that's why $4 square foot sidewalk turns into $40 square foot sidewalk. Get the curve.
Because that curve's not, you know what I'm saying, you got a curve and a curve with
Sure.
the same
Right.
elevations, and then
Right.
you take that out and you're gonna have it's gonna be the same elevation across. So I'd say if you.
My understanding
Say
was
something.
taking the the dirt out of the curve
That's
and
exactly
fill it
right.
with concrete.
That's right.
4 slab inch of concrete,
Mhm.
it'd be 10 feet wide, it's 135 feet long.
Right.
And honestly, as far as like grant money, because I think the reality is, we all know about prevailing wage. If we don't tack this on, delay the project, I see it's kind of a disadvantage if we delay the project is one thing, and then two, say we, the park board, would have to pay for it, which we have to pay the prevailing wage, whereas if we can go as with planned, then we can go a separate entity and have that section basically donated. How much do you think how much do you think that would cost with prevailing wage to do that? It's 10 feet by 135 feet.
They're probably somewhere in that
That's what it goes to
$60 square yard range, maybe. So
Michael,
you'd have.
What about where it shows it dumping into
the parking lot?
Yeah. Even what I would like to see, rather than the green and the blue and the crosswalk, and then kids walking along the street, would possibly be extending from the end of the red to the west.
You got, we talked about that when we were talking. So
There's a loading area.
you have a loading area over there.
Dumpsters.
And then you're leading the public up to that end of the building instead of towards the front now. We looked at that. We looked at that, same thing. We thought that.
Safer area if you dump it back, because you've got a dumpster there, you've got loading, and it's just, it was more feasible from a safety standpoint.
So they're concerned about water runoff, because I mean, we certainly wouldn't want to dump off any more water into the neighbors around there. I mean, anytime you take green space, put concrete, you've got water runoff issues. And when they're wanting more surveys and studies, that's the way the government generally thinks. You know, we've got to have an environmental study here to see where the water's going to go.
To me, it acts like he just doesn't want to do it. The engineer. That's
Well,
my.
This engineer is a lot better than the last engineer we had, so.
No, they're good. I know that one of the guys over there real well, that's the vice president, so it's not that. I'm just.
Well, I'm thinking a win-win is if we can go with the easement as it is now, and Michael had stressed too that the document is written that we're not restricting you with your land and use of any of it. As Michael said, if you have to put some kind of utilities under it or whatever, so as long as you don't disturb the trail, then that's written in there as well. But being able, whatever you decide tonight, moving forward, Dr. Shaw has expressed an interest being on the Trails Committee, which I think would be very helpful as we're trying to enter into these school properties.
Is it so if we choose to approve this, are we locked into the red route?
No, we're not doing the red route. We're proposing tonight that green-blue space. Where the trail ends is the blue, where it makes that turn. It shortens it.
Okay, so I'm confused. What?
The red is.
The red was the original. The red was the original, and then the little bitty mark, the green mark, that is where now it will go,
So
and
that
stops
is
there.
the. Okay, not. There is a new easement. Yes. Is that in my packet?
It's probably an easement.
Description.
Is it a sidewalk already there?
No, there's no sidewalk.
It's island, screen space, dirt, grass.
No sidewalk at all.
Not in that island, if that's what you're talking
Well,
about.
I'm talking about next to the.
No, that's just.
No, on the north side of, say college.
I thought it was a clever idea of Michael's to turn that green space into a sidewalk. I thought that was really clever to come up with that.
It was just leading it to that sidewalk out in front where the buses park, so that the kids
Right.
could, that's the only thing I have. Like I said, I'm not trying to argue with what
No,
you're
that's okay.
out to do, I just
Yeah.
thinking if we're gonna leave it
That's
there,
something that's not in the.
we need to get it
project
there.
right now.
Do what?
That's something that's not in the project right now.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is, in my opinion, I feel like the trail committee needs to work on a global plan and determine where all these are gonna go, so when these grants come up, then we can say, oh, let's do phase 3, let's do phase 4, we know where we're going. But right now, I'm dealing with now the third superintendent and third different, school board, and so just need to be able to move forward.
Been
Do you
here
see what I'm
all
saying
along.
with that?
We've been here all along.
Yep, I've been talking to, I guess I talked to the superintendent, and Scott came to that meeting, I believe with, Dr. Stafisher came to the office.
Stafisher?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not very good with that.
We have 3 ladies here that are at Page. Maybe they can give us opinion on what they think about that with the kids. If you think it's a safety hazard or not as they lead it, or with the situation of the kids.
I'm sorry, I'm a visual person, so I would actually have to physically see it. Here. I will just tell you, I mean, safety is always a huge concern.
Well, you know how the kids are running, so what do you think?
With the number of kids that we have and the number of cars.
And the bike rider.
We don't want the trail to dump into the parking lot. No, the parking lot is already kind of a hot mess if you want to know the truth of it.
So the revised plan does not go into the parking lot.
You want?
I just know personally from being there the last few years, being on car pickup duty. Yeah. Car pickup duty is a hot mess. I mean, it goes all the way out to Carnation. I mean, safety is always.
We just don't want to come up with shady
And
that's the issue that we have to provide. This was initially part of it, so discussion here, right? And also, grass, so we're gonna do sidewalks right here. It does make sense. Oh, yeah.
Could they not do some kind of, after they
Government, yeah.
why can't they go forward with the bid and then just, that's a change order to the project? That was my question.
They really don't want to do change orders. That area.
Will they, well, can't they go ahead and put the unit price in there? See, that if they don't want to do a change order, they could still bid the unit even though they haven't got the, you could tell it better. He's in that world.
I still think we're out of feet though, because even if you cut it, even if you're giving up 75 feet, this is 135 feet. You can't go farther.
But you're saying, and I'm not, but a minute ago, you're saying it was because of the research, not the money. So is it the money or the research?
Well,
Or is it both?
it's basically both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just
Because the
asking.
last time, Grant, we tried to slip in some other stuff and they said, no, what you applied for is what you got.
So if you stop it here and don't go all the way out, that's a savings in money, so where's that money gonna go?
Well, it saves, I guess, us, because the park was gonna be paying 50,000, now it's gonna be around 100,000. Because the cost of the underpass.
So instead of going over 100,000, we may go down over maybe just 90,000.
But the only thing is you are getting the engineer's estimate. That's just an estimate, you haven't got your bids. And this time of year,
And I could tell you, Michael, every bid we've had always comes in higher.
this time of year is a good time to bid.
That's
I
why we
will
want
say
to get it
that,
out next week.
but
Yeah.
I just think it needs to have that tied to it. But that's just mine.
I will tell you, I've worked on these grants before, and once you put your preliminary down, you're on, they lock you into it. You can't say, hey, we'll make it 8 foot wide and extend it by 100 feet. It's the same amount of square footage. They won't let you do
Yeah.
stuff.
And I have to say, the first engineer we worked with was Great River Engineering, and we're still waiting to close out that grant, which should have been closed out over a year ago. So I kind of feel like we're a little bit of a, kind of a black mark on Aurora because having problems with the previous engineer. And I hate to cause more problems with this because I really want to keep chugging along to, get this thing moved through. But that's your decision.
My question, I know we've been on this a while, but how many, isn't this trail mainly for, more public's gonna be on it than,
We applied for it all ages.
but I mean, how many kids are gonna walk out of paved? I mean, how many kids walk?
Not many right now because we don't have adequate pedestrian.
We don't let anybody walk. We don't allow them to walk.
Well, that's what I thought.
It'd be nice to take them to the park though.
Dan Decker, when he wrote the letter of support,
Really?
he thought that would help with summer school, walking the kids over to the pool to swim instead of busing them.
No, I'm trying to determine whether to come to the parking lot or come somewhere else, is my point.
I see what you're saying.
Isn't this kind of geared for patrons to drive to this parking lot, park, and hit the trail? Or is it,
I don't know.
is there gonna be more kids out of paid or
I
parents?
see all ages. I don't know. I hate to make that assessment.
Grant, I mean, I want to say,
Over by the elementary school in Republic, they put a fence right across the end of it.
across the walking trail?
Oh yeah, the one on 174.
And if we can
They
change
changed it a little
it,
hard.
or if you guys can change it where it'll be safer and all coming with that sidewalk, I'm fine with that too. I guess I was trying to get it in my mind who's actually gonna be using it, whether, 100 kids every day coming out of school.
That's where you need to ask them again.
They don't allow anybody to walk.
Yeah, but ask them what they prefer. They're at paved.
You mean, where we'll put it?
Well, what they would think would be the best.
Yeah. I mean, for unsupervised kids, personally, I don't see either one of them looking good because it's right around the parking lot and there's 2 entrances, or 1 entrance, 1 exit. But I get the concept of the trail,
I wish I could remember in my mind what the overall trail looks like, where it's supposed to go from here into the next destination you're saying was Robinson.
The goal is to get to Robinson and
Out the
connect
front?
to the,
Which
well,
would be the
that's yet
south
to,
side.
well, that's yet to be determined, but that's why I'm glad that Dr. Shaw said he's interested in being on that committee to help determine that.
You have to follow that ditch.
Yeah. But anyway, but here we are now, and we need to decide this, and then we need to be able to maybe look on how we can move forward with future phases of how not to get into this situation where we are.
So the red is what's is proposed, and then is it?
No.
Clear me out again.
No, the red is what the first one was, and then what is being proposed is the red, except where that little thing comes out.
The green?
Yeah, what's being proposed basically is this red, and it goes down to the green right there, and it stops. And I'm not volunteering them because I wanted to know what the board was going to do here first. But the Trails Committee so far, they have either donated or have obligated $45,000 to the project. They previously had given us $30,000, and with this next project, they've given us a minimum of $15,000.
And they've asked us again if we need more money, and they're always doing fundraisers to help support this endeavor. So it's a possibility, Michael, we maybe get that sidewalk in even before they even, you know, get the bids all back or something. It's just a thought.
And all we're approving is the easement, right?
That's correct.
She was just
By
asking for.
approving that, you're approving where they're gonna build it as of now.
And let me just be real silly. It turns to the west along our driveway.
Uh-huh.
And that's our land all the way down through there. Is that in the Steel Horse land from the road
See
to
where
here?
you are.
From
I
here
would
to
assume
here?
that's city right away.
That's on city right away.
Okay,
And then
so this
you,
is the right of way right here?
yes.
What do you think, Dan?
And then
What I
they-
would have preferred would have been go back on the backside of these properties, straight out that way, instead of on the school property. But I understand you have a plan now, but to keep it in residential.
Yeah,
But-
but that's taking it really further away from the school.
I think that's what they're talking about. We build fences around a lot of these schools anymore. And that's what they did with that walking trail in Republic, because they had so many people wandering off the walking trail
I gotcha,
onto the playground. Our playgrounds are already fenced,
gotcha.
but they didn't have that over there, so. I don't know.
That was my concern too.
What's
Now,
that?
I know Scott's worried about safety,
Oh, okay.
having just
Sure.
various people wandering onto the school grounds, but we do have our playgrounds fenced. There should never be students wandering, especially this age students wandering outside without a teacher.
I doubt
Or
that
parent.
there's a sidewalk or a street is gonna.
It's gonna affect it one way or the other. Yeah.
Well, as much as I hate to say, I don't think this is something that can be tabled. I need to either submit it tomorrow or we'll delay the project.
Are there any issues with, do you see any issues just with the trail on school property? I make the motion that we grant the park board the requested easement.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. Would I be able to get a signature or do I need to come back for that?
No.
President of School Board.
You have a hard copy of it, Teresa?
Park, I do. You know, moving forward, I think we're gonna be better by having somebody, I think, on the board or close to the board, knowing what's going on firsthand. I think that will help.
And I understand what you're talking about connecting and doing it the right way with other funds, because all the money that we're gonna spend on that's coming out of our money. We're gonna spend their $250 plus more.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna spend all the federal money for sure.
Yeah, no
and
matter whether we do that or not.
That's exactly
The
right.
federal money's gone,
Right.
so.
I'd be
It's
hungry, I
a
can.
bit cheaper for the 30-foot sidewalk.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, amended 2015-16 budget. I forget the other, oh, I'm sorry, I did. Yeah, I jumped from A to C. Thank you, yeah.
Okay, we finally got information back from the auditors. In your packet, you were given two different documents that were sent from KPM. The first one, that's the 3-page, that's the one that's most relevant that you would want to draw your attention to. As again in years past, everything came back really good with the audit, nothing alarming. You can see the first couple things that they note, the cross-training of personnel, petty cash bank reconciliation review. Those are two things that take place in our office, and it has to do with the design of internal control. One of the things that's required by the district is that we submit a letter of the defining financial statement audit, what they call material weakness. We have to submit that to DESI. And so the only thing that's on that letter that we have to submit to DESE is that design of internal control. And essentially what that means is we're not a large enough district to have enough employees to segregate all of the duties that take place within our office in the accounting. In other words, we have one person, for example, Gail does the bookkeeping, payroll, insurance. What they want is to see somebody different doing all three of those jobs. The cross-training then is, okay, we want, if that can't be possible, then we need to have people with cross-trained to do different things in case somebody has to be gone. So the only thing that, and this is an annual thing, every school district that I've been to, because I've always been in smaller districts, that's a thing that auditors always flags school districts on, is just that segregation of duties and that design of internal control. A couple other things, the publication of financial statements, that was something that did not get taken care of last year. It has already gotten taken care of this year, so we're squared away on that. The amount, the budgetary compliance, the amount that was budgeted in Fund 3 last year was not as much as what the actual debt payments were, and then that budget never got amended. It never got brought to you to be amended, so that's why that's on there. The federal grant compliance, this is a new thing with the Omni Circular, and regarding these internal controls again, you then have what may be an issue with legislation, the new overtime rules, and I'm not quite sure why they put that on there, only because I think they're flagging it for schools, but if legislation passes, then we have to start looking at any even salaried employees that make less than $50,000 and having to deal with potential overtime issues. So essentially what that means is that all of our teachers that make less than $50,440, if this legislation passed, then they would all have to start keeping track of all of their hours that they work, and we would have to start basically eliminating any hours over 40 a week, which is not good for kids at all, because try to tell a good teacher that they can only work 40 hours. So I don't think that's going to pass. It's actually more than doubling what that limit is right now, but those are things that they brought to our attention. The other document, it talks about the different aspects of qualitative aspects of accounting, to difficulties in performing the audit. All of those things, disagreement with management, management representations, none of those things came back at all as they had any problems. So what I need for you as a board to do is to approve the audit as submitted. One thing I just realized I didn't bring with me are the hard copies of the audit, which I can get to all of you, because I'm sure that's something you're just dying to read through the entire thing. But these are the summaries, these are the findings, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the audit.
I move that we approve the audit.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, 2 to 3 times a year, the board needs to approve an amended budget, and essentially what that is that there's things that go on throughout the year that we monitor, and expenditures change, revenues change, and in order to continue to have an up-to-date budget, the board needs to approve that amended budget that you approved back in June. For example, one of the things that didn't get done that obviously has to get done this year is that if the expenditure on bond last year was more than what was budgeted, it didn't get amended, and therefore it got flagged. So what I've given you is a document that has the budget for all the different funds that you approved back in June, and then where we currently are right now. And I've also listed below that main reasons for those changes. You have teachers that move horizontally on the salary schedule due to graduate hours. We don't know any of those things in June, but we do prior to September payroll. You have new staff that gets hired after June that replaces other staff. They may make less, they may make more. We've approved some new positions this year, ISS positions, maintenance, paras, etc. We've had adjustments to different revenue sources, from formula calculations, classroom trust fund, Proposition C, state assessed railroad utilities, early childhood money, investments. One of the big things that probably sticks out to you is the big difference between what was Fund 3. The amount that was given to you for approval in June was actually last year's payment. The amount that you see now in front of you for December is what was pulled off of our amortization for this year's payment, and so that's why that's been adjusted. The year started out, we have about 1.3 million in that fund. So you add the 1.26 in revenues, and then you have the 1.4 in expenditures. So still a lot of money in that fund. Your bond payments are going to adjust annually. A big piece of that is what your assessed valuation does, which is item number 7. Anytime you have an adjustment of assessed valuation, which the information that you're given to approve something in June, we get final, well, I shouldn't say final, we get things that come in after Board of Equalization in July, and then by the time we'll actually get any updated assessed valuation at the end of this month. And then the other thing was the difference in Fund 4. Obviously, at the beginning of June, when this was approved, we hadn't purchased the building that we purchased downtown. And so what you see in there is the purchase of that building, as well as projected expenditures that we're going to have to do some of the still necessary renovations to that. So in the end, if you look at the two numbers on the far right of revenues and expenditures, you've got a budget that is within about $400 of a zero-based budget. The number that I like to focus on is the balance of Funds 1 and 2, and that's $414,000. In other words, what that means is $414,000, if everything comes in on this budget, gets added to our unrestricted fund balance. And so that's that percentage that you always hear about. That money is being added to that. So compared to $262,000, what it was in June, it's now about $414,000. And a lot of that's revenue. That there were based on what was projected and what we're actually getting, is a big piece of that. Some of it too, though, expenditure-wise, there were multiple teachers that it was budgeted that we would be paying retirement for, and they're actually retired teachers that are working 550 hours and don't pay retirement. There was quite a few of them that we had paying health insurance for, and we had 8 to 10 employees that don't take our health insurance, and $5,600 a piece adds up very quickly. So a lot of things that were approved in June, so many projections, and that's what you'll get from me come June, is a lot of projections of what we're going to have, and then when you start being able to evaluate and have more up-to-date numbers, you can then have this. Probably do this again close to April when we know more, and then obviously we'll have to do a final one before we close everything out in June again. So 2 to 3 times a year is pretty normal for a board to approve an amended budget. Any questions I can answer for you? I tried to give a brief summary and kind of give some explanation as to why the changes.
But we approve the amended budget as presented.
Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Boy, we're ready. Report time.
Already?
8:52.
You had the meeting over last time by like 8. What are you talking about?
Well, I feel like I've been here long.
Shared her before closed session.
Okay, reports, AEA.
I have nothing more to add.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Are you sure? Because it's early.
Yeah, we got
No,
all
I'm
mine.
good.
Huh? That's right. Sodexo Food Service.
Debbie
wasn't feeling well,
she went home.
Field all questions to Lance then. Okay. Sodexo Lance. Anybody? No? I'll leave you alone. I don't even know what.
Well, I just want to say, I mean, we work with him a lot, with Lance a lot, with the Rooster Club and everything. And you're just a great employee and a great one to work with, Lance. I really appreciate it.
All around good guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see him out there loading tables, chairs, picking up trash.
Painting
right?
flag, painting the goalposts.
He delivered the food tonight, you guys, we need it, Lance.
Well, I wouldn't know yet, but I'll thank you later. I'm fasting. Okay, building principles, Dr. King. Anything?
Nothing to add except for thank Dr. Shaw for coming over and reading to all of our kindergartners this past week.
Oh, yeah?
I can see if I can still do it.
Thursday. They correct you.
I was impressed.
How many of them did it take to have me get up off the floor?
Well, you know, it was the day I got back from my cruise,
You
and
sprawled
I
out.
wasn't quite sure I was gonna get back up. That was the only class I sat on the floor. The rest of them, I was fine in the chair and was hoping it wasn't breaking.
Robinson, Mr. Mace.
The only thing I would say was our music program, our Deer Center program Thursday night, we had a great performance and then had a little show at the end of that with our music teacher being proposed to on the stage afterwards. So we've had a lot of positive comments with that. So
Did you say yes?
she did. So
She better after he did that in front of that many people.
absolutely.
With a banner even, the kids holding up the
Yeah,
banner.
I saw that on my wife's phone, whatever you call that. Facebook, thank you. As you can tell, I don't do that. Robinson, element or intermediate, Mr. Bax. Sorry.
Nothing to add.
Any questions? Junior high, Dr. Murphy Pope.
Not bad.
Mr. Colton.
He is supervising.
He's supervising. Any questions?
I'd say he's probably good.
Very good. Anybody? All right. Anybody? While you're up, athletic director, any questions?
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Nash? She's not here.
She's at a reading conference.
Okay. Transportation, anybody? Well, we're just cruising. Dr. Lakin, special education.
Nothing to add.
Dr. Reedus, assistant
No, sir,
superintendent.
at this time.
Back to you.
Just real briefly, what I put in my packet, just to highlight that this is a pretty big deal. U.S. House passes the Every Student Succeeds Act, which will replace No Child Left Behind if the Senate passes their piece. So it really, really is good for schools. It highlights the importance of local control, protects the federal investments of Title I, and it also prevents public tax dollars being able to be taken away for private use. So we'll see what happens in the Senate with this, but that's a good thing for public education. So.
All right. Board members? Anybody got anything? The only thing I got is, my father passed away 2 weeks ago, and I want to thank the board sending me a card and the district on this, and everybody that came to the service or called me or emailed me or texted me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. With that, I guess meeting is adjourned. Yeah, we gotta go into closed session.
Make a motion to go to closed session.
Second.
All right. Dave.
Yes.